Bhadram karnebhi shrnuyama devaha Bhadram pashye makshabir yajatraha Stirairangaihi tushtuvagam sastanubhihi Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu Svastina Indro Vrdhashravaha Svastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Svastina Starkshyo Arishtanemihi Svastino Brahaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. We're on verse 7 and we are analyzing what you actually are. What are you? Who are you? What, who doesn't matter. What is your real nature? Na ubhayata prajnam. You're not conscious of both the inner and the outer. And again, this is worth repeating. Any in-between state that you ever experience by any substance at any time in the future or in the present. Did anyone ever have an experience in the present? It's a funny question, isn't it? Did anyone ever have an experience in the present? Because by the time I asked that question, that was already an experience. So you're always having an experience. Did anyone ever have an experience in the past? Or if I asked that question yesterday, and I asked you, are you having an experience right now? You would have said yes. So if I say, did you ever have an experience in the past? You have to thus say, yes, while it lasted. Now it's only a memory. Depends how you look at it, isn't it? Will you ever have an experience in the future? You have to go along with me. I'm not trying to, I know where you say no, this, that, I'm free of experience. Go the thread. Okay, yes. So whatever experience you ever had, ever will have in the future, so what experiences are coming? Tomorrow's coming. Tomorrow's coming. Older age is coming, right? The end of life is coming. That's an experience. So let's admit that. So any experience that ever will come, that you ever come in touch with, that is not, however great that experience is, or however divine or special or convincing that you've now entered the gate of the Lord. I'm now entering finally. The Lord has taken me by the hand and I'm entering His gates. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. I am entering you. Whatever you ever enter, you're much bigger than that. Whatever anyone ever shows you, you're much bigger than that. Therefore, it is not a state that is induced. It's not an in-between state. Think about the implications of this. If it's not some special in-between state, nothing that can ever be induced by any special person, any substance, then what choice did that leave you than to accept it thus must be right here? Experience is experience. Experience changes. Yesterday I asked the question, what is changing? And you said, what is changing is whatever is changing. But to say whatever is changing must mean there is a changeless observer. Okay? So what will change in the future? A state will change. However extraordinary that state is, or minuscule that state is, the point is it started. Whatever starts presupposes it wasn't there before. In fact, as we will soon see, whatever starts, as we go into the Gaudapada Karika, whatever starts depends on the seer. The seen depends on the seer. So in that sense, the seer has higher order of reality than the seen. If I'm shown heaven, that's seen. That's an in-between state here. Or any loka that I'm shown. That's an in-between state, some special state. I'm seeing that. Whatever is seen depends on the seer. So the seer was there before the seen. So it is not some special state that you have to worry about, that you're going to reach one day. There's no special experience of awareness that you will look forward to. And I want you to look at the implications of this right now. If it will never, ever, ever, ever be an experience of some special state, then what does that mean for you right now? If who you are will never be any more than who you are right now, what does that mean for you right now?
Relaxation. We have nothing to gain.
Freedom.
What are you going to look forward to? What's going to be there in the future? Different organization of intelligence. But what will also be there in the future? The observer of that. The same observer who's here now of this experience. So the observer remains the same. The organization changes. So all you're ever experiencing is Ishvara. You've always ever been experiencing Ishvara, reorganizing itself in the form of the world and your body and your thoughts. But that because of which there is an experience, because of which there is change, whatever you call that, that is the self. And even now, while I'm speaking to you, you're saying, suppose you say, but what is the self? What is the self? I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out for myself. Right? You got it, somebody else got it, but I want to figure it out for myself. Is that question an experience? How is that any different? It's just an experience. It was just another experience that started. It was a state. It was literally a state that you temporarily manifested before you in the form of a question. Was the observer there of that question? Then suppose tomorrow you say, oh, I finally got it. Now I know what this observer is. It's ever evident. It doesn't need to announce itself through other means of knowledge. It's self-announcing. It's self-evident. It's always present. Oh, I finally got it. Is that statement an experience? So what's the difference before enlightenment and after enlightenment? One light is shining on the mind, because of which experience is taking. Even to say, I don't know my nature, is that an experience? Like, I'm frustrated. I haven't figured out the truth. Is that an experience? I want this to be real for me right now. I'm tired of looking and listening to the scriptures. I want this to be real for me. Is that an experience? What was there before the experience? Another experience. And before that one, another experience. So what's the difference between enlightenment and non-enlightenment? They're both just experiences.
Big joke of existence.
That's the big joke, yeah. That's it. And then it only becomes a joke once the person gets it, right? Before it's like, oh, enlightenment is a big thing. It's, incredible. But then you realize, my goodness, there was an observer, the self-evident I, in the presence of whom there was ignorance evident, and now there is knowledge evident. Both of them become evident in the presence of that one awareness. But maybe there's something better. What if there's like a better Veda? Like what if there's some beings out there who have this treasure and they've locked away the best scriptures in the world, and they want to show this, and we haven't yet discovered the reality. And then you come to see and you read about that, and you have some amazing out of this world experience. You get sent in a different world when you read this knowledge. Is that an experience? What was before that experience? Another experience. See? So every experience is really just the same. Mind-blowing experience. Mediocre experience. What's always there? In the presence of whom do experiences get revealed? In the presence of the seer of the experiences, the knower of the experiences, the revealer of the experiences, the light in the presence of whom, by whose presence experience is revealed, experience shines. So there will never be a time when you will be more than who you are right now. Think about that. There will never be a time when you will read something in the future that will make you more than who you are right now. The only thing that's going to do for you is going to give you an experience. But what's underneath that experience? I am. You understand the significance of this? Experience is experience. We said yesterday, you can divide reality into two things. That which is evident all the time, and that which becomes evident to the one who's always self-evident. Experience is experience. That which is self-evident is self-evident. That's it. That's the teaching. It doesn't have to be more complex. It was never more complex than that. Therefore, na upayatah prajnam, it is not an experience of any kind. And then na prajnana ghanam, it is not undifferentiated potential. It is not some void or some coma state or some undifferentiated soup of mass consciousness that I'm like just, flowing in some liquid. It's not, this is all imagination of the mind. If you imagine that, is that an experience? Yes. So do not be fooled by the experiences produced by your mind. It's not blankness. It is not sleep. It is the presence in which blankness is revealed. Blankness is also an experience. The presence in which also anything in between is also revealed. Na prajnam, it is not conscious. Again, do not imagine that you are somehow parked inside your body. Okay? This is a mistake. Don't think that awareness is somehow localized, sitting behind your body, sitting behind your mind, and it's like looking at things, observer. It says, na prajnam. It is not an individual consciousness. So don't think there's some being inside your body that knows what the body is doing and also knows what the world is doing. No, that's a mistake. You're not conscious because your body is alive. Because you are consciousness, there is an experience of body being alive. In the presence of you, in the presence of consciousness, right now, there is a person called your name sitting on that chair, feeling the surface of that chair, and that sensation is illumined by you, the all-pervading consciousness, and the body is experiencing sounds heard from Andre's mouth. The brain is interpreting the sounds into some meaningful symbols. Silence is experienced. Curiosity is experienced. In the presence of what? You can only be one being. In the presence of I. Okay, now, next part. Adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam avyapadeshyam eka atma pratyaya saram. It is unseen, beyond empirical dealings, cannot be grasped, without any ground for inference, not available as an object of thought, and not an object of expression by words. When there is a thought, any kind of thought, is there awareness or not? There is. So to have any kind of thought, there is awareness. So what kind of thought would you like to have for awareness to show up? Any kind of thought is good enough. The fact that there is a thought implies the presence of awareness, implies the presence of you. A thought does not displace you. And so the question is, what's the relationship important between a thought and you? What's the relationship between the waker, right now, this is the waker, and awareness? The relationship between them is like a pot and clay. So wherever there is a thought, it's like this pot right now. And every thought has a unique feature to it, has a unique kind of shape and size. And wherever there's a thought, I said, is there awareness or not? You said, yes. So now what's the relationship between your thought about yourself, about the waking, about the dream, about whatever it is, about Ishvara? What is that relationship? It's like wherever there is a pot, that's exactly where the clay is. Wherever my thought is, that's exactly where my awareness is. So how many pots, which pot do I have to show right now that will displace the clay? You see, no matter what pot I show you, no pot shape will ever displace the clay. Sometimes we think, oh, I'm angry, I've lost it, I'm no longer in touch with myself. I need positive, I need peaceful thoughts to be in touch with myself. Is that true? You see, you're not trying to have peaceful thoughts. You're just understanding wherever there's a thought, the fact that that thought is known must mean I must be there. No thought displaces me. And so the wisdom is reminding yourself that initially until your thoughts are not taken so seriously. You still follow up with your thoughts, but thoughts are thoughts. Okay? And so, adrashtam, unseen, important. Will awareness ever be seen by you? Okay? A different question. Suppose you have this notion that one day I'm going to see a bigger version of myself. I'm going to have a bigger version of myself. That means right now that version is not seen, and tomorrow that version will be seen. It says here, adrashtam, it is unseen. You will never see it. Rather, it is to be understood as awareness because of which seeing is possible. Wherever there is seeing must imply the presence of consciousness. Avyavaharyam, beyond empirical dealings. Beyond empirical dealings. I can deal with this because it's an empirical thing. I can do whatever I want with it. However, can you ever deal, transact with the self? Can someone ever shake your hand or touch your head and then kind of transfer, because that's called transaction, empirical transaction. Is that ever possible with awareness? According to the verse, no, because even if you say, and this language goes on sometimes, a teacher will say it, I want to reach Atma, right? I want to reach Atma. This statement has some validity at the start. I want to reach Atma. Everyone says this at the beginning. I want to reach this consciousness. However, slowly, as you start to see the fallacy of this statement, you see that too had its purpose. You don't say, I want to reach Atma. Atma is already reached. It's called praptasya prapti. It is that which is already accomplished right now. For instance, if I want to get gum from a shop, that gum is called apraptasya prapti. It is what is not accomplished. And to accomplish what is not accomplished, I have to empirically transact with the world. But if I have something right now, then there's no question of transacting with anything. It's just a question of recognizing it's already right here, right now. Thus it is praptasya prapti, it's already accomplished. And whatever is already accomplished is never a question of action. If a thing is not accomplished, then action becomes valid. Because what does an action do? An action can reach something, an action can purify something, An action can modify something, but can I reach Atma? No. Why not? Because Atma is the presence because of which these thoughts are known. Can I purify Atma? Purification is only in reference to the mind. Can I modify Atma? Modify your awareness. Into what? Who will be aware of that? Oh, I am. So you cannot purify awareness, you cannot modify awareness, you cannot reach awareness. And can you produce awareness? With an action, I need to produce something. I don't have a business, so I'm going to put actions into the field and produce money. But can you produce awareness? No. So if action is always about purifying, modifying, producing, reach. Therefore, you cannot produce awareness because you're already having in quotes awareness right now. It's already right here, right now. You cannot ever reach it because it's not away. So if I cannot reach it, then where's the question of waiting to get enlightened tomorrow? Because according to the scriptures, awareness is the highest reality. There's nothing after awareness. Everything comes out of awareness, as we'll see more and more. If it's already right here, where's the question of waiting to produce it? Can you see now why when Simon says the whole thing's a joke? I'm waiting to produce awareness, modify awareness. I want to modify, that's mind. I want to produce, that's mind. I want to produce a state of mind. I want to purify, that's mind. I want to purify the mind. I want to modify the mind. I want to reach some state in my mind. That's all mind. But the presence because of which the mind is trying to produce itself, or produce some state, modify itself, purify itself, produce something new, the presence in whom that is known is because of your presence as consciousness in this moment. Agrahyam, it's ungraspable. Okay. To grasp something means what? To grasp. Now, where do you grasp things? You grasp things in time and in space. Okay, so will there ever be a time where you at some place will see awareness that some enlightened being has it with a little, some special ability, and he's waiting for you and says, come over, dear child, I'm going to bless you. See what's happened? He's over here. He has awareness over here, in time, in space, and you're over there. Agrahyam, it's ungraspable. I can never go over there and grasp it from the Guru. It has to be discovered as your very nature right now. There will be no Guru who can ever give you this awareness. Okay? Then why does it seem like awareness is away? Like, why are we on the search in the first place? Because we are on the search. At least we were in the search. If awareness is something that's already right here, right now, you already have it. In quotes, have it. You already are it. It's already reached. It's already accomplished. It's already who you are. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't optimize it. You can't make it better. You can't make it worser. Nothing can ever get stuck onto it. No bad karma can stick onto it. No good karma can stick onto it. Then why the search?
Because you're preoccupied with the body-mind.
Preoccupied with the body-mind. In other words, the attributes of the body-mind have deeply mixed themselves up with this awareness. As I said from the start, you don't need to know that you are conscious. Your consciousness all the time. But the problem is that this consciousness is intimately mixed up with the body and the mind. That's why I want to purify the mind. Why? Because I think I am that mind, so I purify myself. We call this mutual superimposition, where consciousness, quote, features of consciousness, which is infinite, and consciousness, that gets superimposed onto the mind. And thus you say, the mind has consciousness. See what happened? You superimpose consciousness, which is all pervading, you superimpose it onto one single mind. And then you take the mind and you superimpose the features of the mind onto consciousness. And what does the mind require? Purification, doesn't it? So then you say, I need to purify consciousness. I need to increase consciousness, which is why we have things like increase your consciousness, increase your vibration. That's the language they use. So this mutual superimposition is the error. And so what we're doing through these verses is we're removing these notions that's making you do this little mix-up. The next one is alakshanam. It is without marks or indicators. Okay. Does fire have something close to it? If I say to you, fire is like, and then you say? A volcano, the sun, right? Water is like? Yeah. Okay, so you get the idea. So water has a feature. It has an indicator. It's liquid. Fire has hotness. But then I say to you, awareness is like?
Space.
Okay, very close, but still doesn't do justice. Because you cannot quite compare awareness. Nothing's like awareness, even though we use space and light a lot for awareness, for comparison. But there's no feature that awareness has that you can attribute onto it and then say, awareness is like the physical light. And you go, oh, okay, so now let me imagine the physical light shining on my thoughts. Okay, we only use that as a metaphor, but then we have to get rid of that imagination. We're not trying to create images in the mind. So you cannot indicate awareness through any particular attribute. Rather, it is to be understood as the light in the presence of whom attributes are revealed, including physical light. It is attributeless, okay, free of any kind of qualities, features. If something's attributeless, it cannot be a thing.
It cannot be named, it cannot be nothing. It cannot be...
It cannot be known.
It cannot be...
Is it seen? Is it?
Yeah.
You cannot be touched.
Yeah. Because when we speak of attributes, don't we always speak of something that we can touch, feel, smell, taste, intuit? I'm going to intuit consciousness. I'm going to feel consciousness. That's the subtlest one. As we said yesterday, what's the most addictive, addictive motivation in the world? Anandamaya kosha. I'm going to feel happiness. So attribute happiness onto consciousness. It is not even happiness. Why? Comes and goes. Yeah. If it comes and goes, then who is there to witness the presence of something coming and going? Whatever that is, that's the real you. You don't have to define it, but you know it's there. Achintyam, not available as a thought object. Okay. So how does a thought take place? We looked at this accordion yesterday, and we said your eyes get opened, and this accordion doesn't physically enter your brain. What happens is this accordion is represented as a... Is it accordion or a harmonium? This harmonium is represented in your mind, and that's called a vritti in the form of a harmonium. And what happens is two processes, vritti vyapti, vritti vyapti. So what happens, vyapti just means a result. So what has resulted because of the eyes being open? What has resulted is a harmonium. And as a result of the harmonium, ignorance gets removed of harmonium. Therefore, palavyapti. Now, what do I mean ignorance is removed? Well, for example, right now, you all say, hey, Andre, there's a harmonium over there. And I'm like, look, I don't know harmonium. So I have ignorance of harmonium. And then you say, just look. Okay, I'm going to look. Boom. I see the harmonium. Thought of harmonium is inside the mind right now. And in the presence of Atma, that thought is objectified by me. Therefore, for me, ignorance of harmonium is now gone. There's no more ignorance of harmonium. Okay, so this is how a thought takes place. Two processes. One, it's represented in your mind, and two, it removes ignorance of that object. So you can no longer say, I don't see a harmonium. I don't see it. No, I see it. For me, ignorance of harmonium is removed. Okay. Now, what about Atma? Atma is the only principle that cannot be objectified, because it is always ever available, but you still need some thought to help remove a notion that's opposing what Atma is in your mind. What I mean by that is we carry a notion that Atma is a big special thing to be had in the future. That's a notion. So you have suppose a little blind spot. So what Vritti Vyapti does, and this is what scriptures do, they give you an opposing thought and they say, you are not your nature, that which objectifies all experiences, is not something in the future. So it crosses this out. And thus it removes this notion. And then you have another notion. Yes, that's true, but I'm still doubtful, and for me it's not true. That's another little blind spot you have. And then the scripture comes in and says, it is achintyam, it is not available as a thought. Because you just said to yourself, I doubt it. Is that a thought? I doubt that it's true for me. Is that a thought? Yes. So the scripture comes and says, achintyam, whatever that thought is, you cross that out too. And then we have another little thought. And that thought says it is to be seen as or felt. It's to be felt as an expensive experience. And then the scripture says it's adrashtam. It is unseen / unfelt. And then he crosses out that notion. And then you realize, oh, so all my doubts were in the form of these little, dots that were just making me think that this presence is somewhere away, it is different, it is to be modified, it is to be purified, but actually it is always objectifying all of my doubts, all of my thoughts, no matter what they are. And then you say, so no matter how much I try to doubt this, I'm still there. In every doubt, there's awareness. So nothing can cover me. And you say, wow. So that means that I'm already here, because that awareness is the truth of all things. And if that is true for me right now, then what is there to seek? What is there to look forward to in the future? And you say, oh, so I can relax. And then tomorrow, one more thought shows up. And this thought will say, it is, what should we choose here? Unseen, it's not conscious. You got any other thoughts that you think this awareness is? You want to share it? Some doubts?
It is reflected.
Okay, so now we've got this two: original consciousness, reflected consciousness. By the way, why do we introduce Chidabhasa? This is a real question. In Vedanta, several hundred years ago, the problem was this. The teacher came and said, consciousness is universal. It's all-pervading. But then a student came up and said, but then if consciousness is all-pervading, why do we have many minds and they're all conscious, conscious, conscious? Consciousness from this standpoint, consciousness from this standpoint, consciousness from this standpoint. Why is that? And then the teacher thought, how do I answer this question? And then they created this model called original consciousness and reflected consciousness. And they said, well, just imagine these three minds are like, buckets, and inside is water. And then you have one single sun, and one sun is shining on all three minds. And then from the standpoint of each mind, it seems like only I am consciousness, only I am consciousness, only I am consciousness. But actually what he wants to show you is that that consciousness is not because of your little isolated space. That consciousness is all-pervading consciousness that shines on all minds equally. So don't mistake that you are this isolated consciousness that is somehow stuck in your body. That is a mistake. And then he says, oh, now I understand. So is it reflected consciousness? No, because another name for reflected consciousness is isolated consciousness. Is consciousness isolated to your body and mind? No, it is universal. Although it seems like from your standpoint that it's isolated. But what does my knowledge say? Is it isolated? No. Now where the mistake comes is when the person says, oh, but consciousness is all-pervading. Therefore, I'm supposed to experience myself as all-pervading. That's an error. You can't. You can't because you're still having a body. You have to respect that. It's like the wave in the ocean that recognizes its truth is water. It's not going to now suddenly experience itself in every single wave. It's still going to say, okay, my experience of myself is one isolated wave. But what does my knowledge say? Though that seems to be true, is it actually true? No. My truth and the truth of the ocean is one, as the water. And while I live for the next 50 or 60 years, they will seem like I am as though isolated. Am I actually isolated? No. So this is another doubt removed. I am not reflected or isolated consciousness. For now, I'm not going to put that Satyamitya into this teaching. It's got a different context. Yeah.
How does it refer to
Because to say Satyamitya to reflect the consciousness, now I'm going to say that what? That immediately makes reflected consciousness different from original. That's the problem in the tradition, where they say reflection is different from the original. So they're like, oh, now am I reflected consciousness? Am I the original consciousness? Big error. There's only one consciousness that shines on all minds. And that consciousness that is shining on my mind is to be understood as all-pervading.
So it's just a teaching.
Now notice, I didn't say anything about Satyamitya.
No. But then the concept of reflected consciousness is just a teaching.
It's just a teaching.
Okay.
And it has a very specific use case, as I just explained. Why is it that though it's all-pervading, it's as though I am consciousness, you are consciousness, you are consciousness. How is that possible? If it's all-pervading, I'm supposed to experience myself as all-pervading, but I'm not. And thus you introduce a thing called Chidabhasa. Hari was next.
Well, I thought the Paramartha and the Vyavaharika level are mixed up in the explanation, because everything is one in Paramartha, but in the Vyavahara we are a separate Chidabhasa.
That has a place, but in Gaudapada Karika, chapter 4, you will realize there's no such thing as Vyavaharika.
In Paramartha, because here's Vyavahara.
In chapter 4, we will see even this Vyavaharika, there's no such thing as Vyavaharika. It's all Paramartika. That's the highest teaching. So even that, what you're just saying, I know where it's at, it's one level before ajativada. It's just to help you, because very few people understand ajativada. If I just say all that is here is right now I, it's like, whoa, but what about Vyavaharika? What about, Paramartika? And all these words are still floating around in your mind. So what the teacher has to do is, hey, let me take you step by step and talk about as if there is such thing called Pratibhasika, Vyavaharika, Paramartika. Actually, there's only one without a second. That's the teaching that we're heading towards. And that's going to come in the last chapter. Avyapadeshyam, not describable by words. Yes, someone said it's unknowable. So that's what it's saying. So if it's unknowable, if it's infinite, if it's limitless, then what word can possibly describe? Because every word is limited. How can a limited word describe a limitless reality? Now, in the first session, I said the words bhaga, tyaga, lakshana. And the word bhaga is something that you keep. And tyaga is toss away. So, for instance, let's take the word sat and chit. So, sat and chit is the word that most accurately describes who you are. Let's take the word, for example, sat. Sat, which just means existence. Okay, so when I say the word existence, I've already covered this, I remember briefly. If I say an existent harmonium, then what do you think immediately? It's almost like, you know, an existence is just a bonus. It's a harmonium, but existent harmonium. You don't have to use existent, right? It's like an adjective you just throw into the harmonium. So anything you describe, like chair or door, right? Chair exists, door exists, curtain exists, mouse exists, fish exists, tiger exists, monkey exists, eyes exist. See, every one of them has something in common. They are all separated by time and space. If I say monkey exists, it's over there. If I say harmonium exists, it's over here. So it not only lasts at a certain point in time, but also it's separated by space. So can I then attribute that kind of definition onto sat, which is describing that which is all pervasive and always available? The answer is no. So what am I tossing away? I'm tossing away, what do you think I'm tossing away in the word sat?
Name and form.
Name and form. And what else am I tossing away when I want to describe who you are as the existence, as the existent one?
Time and space.
I am tossing away an existence within time and space. So when I say who you are and you are sat, your existence, am I talking about your existence in time and space?
Also,
That would mean that we give it an attribute.
Okay, let me do, before answering, let me do an example. Suppose we have pot exists. Yeah, pot is. Then pot you get rid of the form and the name. Now you got clay exists, clay is. Now you get rid of that. And then you got silicon is, okay, because made of whatever it's made of, clay and whatever. Soil is, molecule is, atom is, particle is, proton is, neutron is. Why am I adding the word is at the end? Why don't I just take it out? What am I trying to communicate when I say is? So what is one thing that's sustained in this conversation, and what is the many things that went away? The many things were the names and forms. But all of those names and forms depended on them having some kind of an existence, without which I could not say they name and form. So no matter how deeply this analysis goes, whatever it's composed of, it will always depend on that is existence. And you can apply the same analysis onto any object in this world. You can apply this to a deva, a god or goddess, whoever you want, whatever you want. It's always going to be the same. God is. Knowledge is. Awareness is. Time is. Space is. Beginning of creation is. Beginninglessness is. Mind is, thought is, emotion is. So you can keep on going forever. They're all supported by one sat, one existence. And that existence from which everything borrows, and because of which everything is, why is this? Why can I say this is? Pot is. Why am I saying pot is? Because it is. It is, because it exists. Okay, I can't say pot unless it exists. I can't say clay unless it exists. Can't say atom unless it exists. So all of them depend on a certain existence for them to enjoy a name and form. That existence which is the truth of all things, which gives all things their name and form and their substance, is who you are. So what are the implications of this statement? That everything here depends on existence, and that existence is your true nature. Then can you be any different from this wall? Because you is, except you don't say you is, you say I am. But suppose you say you is. Wall is. So you depend on existence. Wall depends on existence. In fact, even the word depend is not even appropriate. You is, I is, wall is, flower is. They all have the same existence. So what's the difference between your isness and isness of the wall? If the only thing that's different is just the name and form.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Poop is. You know where this is going, right?
So why don't we just stop at isness?
Huh?
Why don't we just stop at isness? Because that is the underlying attribute of everything.
Why don't you drop the isness?
Why don't we stop at isness? That's it.
That's what we're getting at. That's the whole point, to get to the understanding that you cannot go without isness. You cannot go beyond isness. Even if I say beyond isness is, it's a concept. Nothingness is. Even to say nothing, it still requires the presence of existence. Nothing exists. Okay? And the second word is chit, consciousness. So, what are we going to throw away? What are we tyaga for consciousness? What are we going to throw away here? What do we not mean when we say you are consciousness? Chit. So the second word is chit now. What do you think we are throwing away when I want to describe who you are as consciousness?
Consciousness as a state.
We throw away consciousness as a state, like expanded consciousness. So state, we throw away. What else are we going to throw away?
Anything what we are.
Hmm?
What we are.
What?
Yes, that we are, we cannot deny. That what we are or what we think we are.
Okay. Identity, what we think we
Body, mind.
what we think I am, what I think I am, that kind of thing. Intoxicated consciousness. Like person drinks and then they say, I've lost my inhibitions. Intoxicated. Suppose I say to you, intoxicated consciousness is different from sober consciousness. Correct me on that. This is a statement I'm going to make. Hey, intoxicated consciousness is different from sober consciousness. Now you play the teacher role and you correct me on that.
It's just
This only non-consciousness.
It's an attribute of the mind.
Excellent. I like that. What is an attribute?
The sober and drunk.
Excellent. So one specific. Excellent.
Sober is, intoxicated is, their common denominator is isness.
Okay. Went one step deeper. You connected to the prior.
So I can drink as much as I want. Thank you very much.
Uh-oh.
Which eye is drinking?
Intoxicated consciousness. No. You say no. You're talking about state of mind. You're not talking about consciousness. So we throw away states of mind, throw away what we think we are. What we mean is the presence in whom intoxication is. The presence in whom soberness is. The light because of which intoxication and soberness are both known. The light. Okay? Therefore, Bhagatyaga Lakshana is complete. What about ignorant consciousness? I am ignorant consciousness. What about I am enlightened consciousness? Let's dismiss that too. Hey, I've got enlightened consciousness. Correct me.
Your mind has understood.
You're delusional.
Who
So you're not going to ever have enlightened consciousness. You will never have enlightenment. You never have had ignorance. Those are notions that you're carrying.
And then we throw away Vedanta too.
And Vedanta has done its job like a hammer or a wrench, and you're grateful for it until last breath, but it served its purpose. So in a sense, that word, you can say that, but you still do nididhyasanam.
We throw away the teacher.
I'm out of business. Yeah. I'll look for new students, that's okay. And then finally, Eka Atma Pratyaya Saram. It is to be understood as one and the same in all three states. Therefore, it is the unbroken eye that shines in the waking, in the dream, and in the sleep. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.